We've missed you.
Pour yourself a drink, pop some popcorn, throw those wings in the oven, grab any snack.
It is time to catch up over pre-show cocktails, or tea, or water, or whatever.
Before the curtain rises at our favorite place, the Stratford Festival.
Let's gab about the shows of the 2021 season, the plays, and the cabarets.
This is Showstarters
with Alexis
and Ijoma. Cheers!
Hi there, my name is Alexis Gordon and welcome to Showstarters. Now we are about to meet with the creative team behind one of the cabarets from the Stratford Festival 2021 season. But before we do, I would just like to first acknowledge the land that we are all digitally connecting from. That would be Stratford, Niagara-on-the-Lake, and Toronto. They are on the traditional and ancestral lands of the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, the Adirondack, the Mississauga of the Credit First Nation, and the Wendat. We are so grateful for their stewardship of these lands, and we recognize the long history of sharing stories on these lands. And also, as the brilliant Sam White and New York City's Women's Project Theater has shone a light on for me this year, I'd also like to acknowledge our privilege for having the accessibility to the internet, to computers, to devices, whatever we're using, in order to connect with each other, as so many do not have that access or that privilege right now. It is something that we do not take for granted to be able to share our stories and our art with you this way now. So today we are exploring the show Finally There's Sun, a cabaret of resilience, written and curated by the fabulous duo Sara Farb and Steve Ross. Also performing in the show for their STRATFEST debuts are Noah Beamer and Jermaine Conji. Hello, Sara and Steve.
Oh.
Hi. Hello. Now this will be Steve Ross's 18th season at the festival. Someone needs to get a pin for this man. And just a fraction of Steve's incredible resume includes Assassins with Talk is Free Theater, The Grapes of Wrath, and Fiddler on the Roof, both at the Stratford Festival. And most recently, Steve did his first ever one-person play, Every Brilliant Thing, with New Stages Theater. Welcome, Steve.
I thank you.
Yes, this is Sara Farb's 6th season at Stratford. Some of her amazing credits include Fun Home with musical stage co, Little Night Music at the Stratford Festival, and most recently she was in Harry Potter and the Cursed Child on Broadway. No big deal. Welcome, Sara.
Hello, hello.
Now let us set the scene. In a perfect world, we would be gathered right now, but again, we're very lucky to be Zooming. But if we were an hour pre-show right now in Stratford, what restaurant would we be gathered in for pre-show cocktails? What do you think, Steve? Where would you like to be?
I'm gonna choose Molly Bloom's because it's wing night, and I'm a sucker for their wings. So there you go.
Amazing. What about you, Sara?
Yeah, Pozzo upstairs, or I think Montfort is no longer. It's been a while, but that backyard garden was really something. So
okay, we've got one leg in on wings night, so everyone at home get the wings going in the oven, and one leg in at Pozzo's, and maybe we have a beautiful garden view. Do you have a bevy with you tonight then from your dream Stratford place? It's on standby. Beautiful. Amazing. And I have an Aperol Spritz because it matched my glass.
beautiful.
There you go. There you go. So the duo returns. This isn't your first or even your second cabaret together. You both co-created the Victory Cabaret and the New Cabaret. Both shows took place at the Stratford Festival as part of the Forum series. What do you love most about working and co-creating together?
We complement each other well. I think there's a healthy dose of neuroses between the two of us. And I would say we're good at sort of easing each other's neuroses or inflaming it if necessary. But at the end of the day, we make good choices on songs and participants, and we have a lot of fun. We laugh a lot.
Yeah, I think it's always been a good mix. I have long been a fan of Sara Farb, and a long time ago, I don't know when, Sara, but you did a Ben Folds cabaret.
I was So long ago. That was more than 10 years ago.
More than 10 years ago, and I have never forgotten it because you have such poise in a cabaret. And I remember running into you on the way home from a show on my bike one day on the street here in Stratford and saying, we should do something. And never in a million years thinking that you'd go, oh, sure, I'd love to work with Steve Ross on a cabaret. And you said yes. And so we sort of very quietly went into that first Victory Cabaret, not really knowing what would come of it, and it turned out to be a good match right away.
I think I was just I was so excited you knew who I was, because you're Steve Ross is beloved everywhere, and I was such a huge fan of that production of Assassins, and your song just knocked me out. Like I still remember you ascending those stairs. So it was really like I probably would have done anything you yelled at me, but it was a cabaret.
Well, I'm glad it was a match.
Yeah,
you tricked each other into the romance, and then you both stayed. That's beautiful.
We had to stay for the kids, so.
Yes, the musical theater baby fans over here. Yes. So this is your third show. What should we know about it? What should we feel, think, or learn sort of leaving the theater with this show? What's it about?
We initially had thought about a sort of a sequel to the Victory Cabaret, because that was a cabaret of hope, as we called it. And the more we thought about it, and the more we thought about how realistic the year had been and how tough the year had been, we were both very drawn to going through the roller coaster ride that this pandemic has been. Sara and I are both drawn to some darker songs, some real ballad songs, some up tempos, of course. But I think this pandemic ran the gamut of emotion from good to bad to good to bad to good to bad. That I think we were both really drawn to taking people on the journey through it, and hopefully out the other end, if things keep going this way and things keep progressing, hopefully that's what people walk away with is the oh, okay, that happened and we got through it, sort of a thing. We very quickly changed the cabaret's name to a cabaret of resilience. We really were drawn to that word. We found that word to be very descriptive for us. So
amazing. That journey too of reflecting and healing that I don't think anyone has quite had the time or the energy to do yet. That can be the best of art, is holding up that mirror and letting there be a process of healing.
Yeah. And it's a bit of I think when I explain it, at least, maybe Steve feels the same way. It's a little bit tentative to say, like we're moving through the pandemic. And because it's such a loaded idea. But in creating this show, in going through the songs and the news clips that we'll be including interstitially, it's incredibly healing. It's like to hear, of course, we're choosing the songs, we're curating it, but with these sort of angles and events, big and small, that have happened throughout the year and a half it will be, finding the right songs and the right words to put to those very specific things has really been fascinating and beautiful. And it's a really diverse collection of songs that really speak to what I've observed from other people's experience and from my own. So yeah, it'll be great.
Amazing. Well, it's something that we've never experienced before, right? There is no guidebook. So it'll be so interesting to look back and see what was written down and what hit us. I keep thinking about the moments that touch me, and that I a week later go, I'd better write that down, because I bet 5 years from now I won't remember that silver lining, that positive note. What will be the big picture when we leave it? And I'm so excited that this cabaret gets to be filmed in that sense as well, that maybe we will have that opportunity to look back and go, what? Or also, thank you. Also, I think all the moving things, but like you said, every inch of the roller coaster.
Sara came up with these great, as we brainstormed, we came up with all the words: loneliness, loss, confusion, the mourning of the loss of work, the mourning of the loss of people, but on top of it, the silver linings and the joy and the realizing that there were unbelievable events that we would never have been able to be a part of had this thing never happened. I sure wish it had never happened, but it did, and so everybody was forced to look at silver linings too. So we talked a lot about it. It's interesting to hear people say that that they can't find a silver lining in this, and I feel blessed that I can find silver linings in this whole year, because if without them, boy, that would have been really rough. So
And how beautiful that you get to offer it through this show as well. I think that's maybe something people can't name as well. Somehow we're able to make it through day by day, and maybe it is just one step at a time. But again, the beauty of art can be to help find the vocabulary. I think that's also the power of song. But I'm going to touch on that a little bit later. When did this idea hit you? Did Anthony call you? Did you call each other? When did you go? When did you have that moment or aha moment of, oh, I have to put this in words? Was it a moment? Was it a phone call? Was it a dark moment? Was it a light moment?
The festival reached out to us, and we were both kind of like, what is this? What's happening? And then we jumped on a phone call with Dave and with Anthony, and they sort of expressed their interest in reuniting us to do, like I think Steve said, sort of a sequel to The Victory, or maybe even a remount. And but with a lot of leeway as far as what we wanted to do, if we were interested in presenting this as part of the season. And of course we were. We're both tension whores, so we needed we needed to create something. And I think, as Steve said, like we both kind of tilt a little bit dark in our everyday, just kind of the way we float around the world. And I think we both felt that it would be a bit disingenuous to mount something that was so ostentatiously like triumphant, even though there was a lot about victory that was kind of, a bummer. It was loss and then victory, but we felt a bit more connected to the events at hand, and thought, it's possible people are going to want to run for the hills if they see something to do with the reflection of the last year, but this feels right to us. And so we started down that path, and with the intent of honoring that word resilience, and ultimately with the piece reaching a place of achievement and reflection and celebration of what we've all survived.
Well, there's something so beautiful about it being a cabaret as your tool to express it. You're not writing a 3-act Chekhov play about the pandemic.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be that, as much as, again, there's that balance or roller coaster, there is something about the power of metaphor and the power of song to carry through.
And songs that we know. They're songs that people who come to this will know for the most part. They're all musical theater mainly. And putting them inside of this context has been very useful.
Yeah, really. It excited us. It excited us to perhaps take a song from Meighen or a show that's way back in the 60s and 70s, and have it through a pandemic lens, and hopefully have people think about it a bit differently. So yeah, we were very excited. We're still in the Sara and I love the curating process so much that we tend to draw it out a bit long. We are blessed that we are the last time slot. So we'll be in September. So we've still got some time, which is great. But what we tend to pick, 200 songs kind of thing, and then cull it down from there. And we're still in that blissful, oh, I love that song too phase. So
So now you are both phenomenal humans, let alone performers and actors. When did writing and curating theater turn into a necessity or an artistic outlet for you? Steve, you've recently just written a play, and Sara, you've been working on a beautiful musical with Britta Johnson for the past few years. How is curating or creating art different from performing art for you?
I have found it incredibly valuable during this past year, especially. Um, it is a true outlet artistically and creatively that when we all were robbed of being able to be on stage and realizing what animals we were, that we just lived to be on the stage and things and to express those stretch those muscles. I went through a real mourning period that I didn't know I was going through until you were in the middle of it, and and I just and I never fancied myself much of a writer. I mean, we had curated these cabarets, and I had loved that, but I'd never written anything before. And then this idea just came to me, and it created structure for me for 2 months. It was quite incredible how enjoyable the whole process was. The editing process, the going back over another draft process, all sort of different muscles being flexed along the way, from the coming up with the original idea to the, well, this doesn't work, let's restructure it, and things, all sorts of muscles being flexed that I didn't know I possessed, and then to realize there are no real rules, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it. So it was a big savior for me, this pandemic.
Now you've submitted your play to a festival. Did it feel like, and it made it, congrats, by the way. Did it feel like an audition? Like, did it feel like you were walking into the room, sweating buckets, ready to sing your 32 bars? Like, did it feel similar or completely different?
It was the weirdest. It was the weirdest set of events to actually email someone and say, "Here's my script. Have a read and see what you think." It once I hit send on that, there was no going back. And knowing that someone was reading something that I had just sat, it's a Valentine to my father, so it's a very personal show too, and knowing that someone was reading it was a really surreal experience. Yeah, and then to have people give you feedback on it was fascinating. And all of a sudden I became an addict about feedback, and I started to email it to different people and say, can you just have a quick read of this? And I'm not looking to be praised, but I'm fascinated by this next step of it, this feedback phase. So yeah, it was very surreal when they phoned back and went, let's do it. And I thought, oh, okay, no, you've clearly phoned the wrong person.
You've misunderstood.
You've misunderstood everything. But
Steve, what's it called?
Wonderful.
What's your play called so we can look out for it across stages across Canada?
My play is called Goldfish.
Beautiful. Amazing.
Yes. So it's just a very simple two-person show about my dad. So yeah, it's very interesting. It's very interesting to think that this thing exists now in the world. So
good for you. Sara, how about you? When did writing and curating theater turn into a necessity or an artistic outlet for you? And how does it feel different, creating versus performing art?
I've always been acting at the same time as doing anything else. Like, I got an English degree from U of T while I was acting professionally. And when I wasn't in classes, I was writing. And so it's just always kind of been a nice balance. It's the same part of my brain, but it's also a way to exercise artistic creation that I guess you don't really get to with performance, because I can control the world, and I can develop my own ideas. And I'm the one in charge at the beginning. And collaborating with Britta and other of my collaborators has been amazing. And Steve too, with curation. I'm very happy working on my own, and I'm very happy collaborating, because it helps me exercise my work ethic. My musical with Britta, Kelly versus Kelly, we've been working on for 3 years. And it's come such a long way, and it was supposed to have its world premiere, but COVID, whatever. But we have, like, our collaboration relationship has developed, and now we're working on something new, and it just keeps snowballing in a really nice way.
How do you hope theater has changed pre-pandemic to now? What will you cherish most coming back? How do you think the room will be different, or theater itself being a live or recorded art be different?
I think that people of all ages will feel more empowered to speak up if something doesn't feel right. I think we have allowed for equality and even distribution of space and importance, frankly, in a room. And I think that's great. I know what it's like to be sort of a younger actor in a room full of heavy hitters and feeling really intimidated to speak up. And I sense that that's not going to be happening as much. And I also think that companies are recognizing the importance of telling all stories, and even stories we know, in new ways. And it's very, I mean, that's very clearly happening to me. But maybe I'm looking in the wrong places. I don't know.
I think that's beautiful, and it's important. And hopefully, again, that'll just be part of stepping back into that room as an audience member, as an actor, as a stage manager, as an everything, right?
Yeah.
Steve?
Yes to all that. I also think that there is, I can only speak for myself about the level of gratitude going back into a room. I did a Zoom chat on artists and mental health about halfway through the year last year, and how things are. And at the end of the interview, Charlotte Gowdy, who we all know, was leading the interview, and she said, "What is the silver lining that you have figured out?" And I realized what a great job this is. And it's very easy as actors. What's that joke? How do you make an actor complain, or just put them to work? Or that's not the joke, but we are real good at complaining. Actors are, as is everyone, as are human beings in general. You know, I've been guilty of saying, "Oh my gosh, a 2-show day, what are you talking about?" Or, "Oh my gosh, 12 hours in the theater today, I don't wanna." I think I want to believe that, at least for me, a large part of that is going to be gone, because I sort of can't even imagine the feeling that's going to be when I get to step back on a stage. I've been in rehearsal halls a little bit, with some attempts at getting back to things during this year, but when things actually go and there's an audience, don't know how small or big, and I step on a stage and get to do some acting again, I get a bit choked up thinking about it. I'm the level. So what I wanted, and what I wanted right from the outset of this, when it looked like, oh, okay, this is for real, and we are going to lose our year, and it's going to be awful. Let's not lie. It's going to be awful. But what I bargained with myself was, you have to come out of this better. You have to come out of this having learned something. And I think I have. That's yet to be put to the test. So I allow both of you to call me up and go, "Shut up! You said you
You've
were
got
going to
it.
answer."
Deal.
But I I think that there's going to I think the gratitude will go hand in hand with what Sara said about speaking up and empowering ourselves to just have a really different process, and process being the thing. I've become so intrigued in process versus product over this year, because there was no product, so all we had was process. And the the joy of digging in and figuring it all out is what I'm so looking forward to getting back and doing.
For sure. Do you have any thoughts on audience and our listening skills? If it's been a year of Netflix binging, is there any thoughts to how you hope audiences will come back, let alone react to live theater?
I think people will be noisy. I mean, in a good way. I think they will freely react because they can, and what a joy. It's gonna take some getting used to, I think, but it'll be worth the learning curve for sure. And the people who are in an audience want to be there. They just want to be there. As much as I look forward to stepping on a stage, and like Steve, I can't really let myself think about that, because I get so overwhelmed with the thought. I don't know how I'm going to make it through performances, because I'll just be so happy the whole time, so emotional. But I think it'll be such collective joy, and I really, really hope that lasts for a while. I hope the gratitude comes from both ends. I
There's
just,
nothing quite like it, right? Like we
yeah,
have had no actual substitute for it,
yeah,
for a live theater experience in any other way, especially when gathering turned into the thing not to do. So to be able to safely do it again, I think will just be emotional, full stop.
yeah.
And I don't know that we took it for granted. Maybe we did, but yeah, I don't think it was clear that there's nothing else like it
Mm-hmm.
until we didn't have it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just crave it. It's one thing to turn the remote on and to watch endless, and goodness knows I'm so grateful to have had the amount of entertainment that I've had to see me through. But I can't wait to get back in an audience and see some live stuff, and I can't wait to be on stage for some live stuff.
I think the nerves are also gonna knock me over, like having to redistribute the actual like knee shaking nerves and be like, but I had mastered you a few years back.
Literal knee shaking. Do you remember in the Fantastics? I mean, that was a scary thing. I have stage fright on a good day, but like I was thinking about that moment. I was singing that whatever she sings, much more. Is that
Much
it?
more.
And my legs were just quivering, just shaking and shaking. And I said, Alexis, did you see that? She's like, yeah, yeah, I could. I don't think
No one
they
else
did.
could.
But that's how I picture that's just what I'll be like, and my vibrato will just be a quivering voice.
For sure. Okay, so there is a saying: when words aren't enough, we sing. When song isn't enough, we dance. If your cabaret is tracking these events and these moments, do you too have a song in your lives that has carried you through in the past year that you've blasted and had a cheer up party, or blasted and had a this cry moment in this past tumultuous year?
Since it came out 3 years ago, there is a Justin Timberlake song, said the very old man with a gray beard. There is a Justin Timberlake song called Can't Stop the Feeling. And it has done me proud. I usually manage to I try to stay current for my nieces and nephews so that I can talk to them about music.
Oh my God.
So I usually find a song per summer that I really like and can say, "Oh, did you hear that song?" as my voice cracks and everything. And I don't know, this song, I can turn it on at any point and it helps. And
I
I
love
don't
that.
I cheers to you, Mr. Timberlake. I I don't understand. I don't understand why. I was asked several times why, Steve? But I don't care. I just love it.
It's a good dancing tune.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Sarah?
I don't know. I've been asked this question various times over the pandemic, and generally I listen to audiobooks, and you know, when I need a break from that, I'll listen to a podcast. So it's very chatty, but sometimes I'll dip into. Sometimes I'll find myself singing in the shower. Lately, it's been dancing on my own. Um,
That's a good one.
it's a
Yeah.
great, yeah, that's a great song. um, so that I I I would like, for a while it was Ungodly Hour. Um, Hallie and Chloe and Hallie, Chloe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. 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 Yep.
Um, you know, I dip in and out, but for now it's dancing on my own.
I love that. Well, again,
It's a beautiful song.
yes, and the idea that like sometimes words can't express that thing you
Mhm.
want to get off your chest. So music does it for us.
Yeah, yeah.
Before we go, because the curtain is rising, your show is about to begin. Thank you for the wings and for the chats. But is there anything that you would like to cheers to that you are grateful for in this past year, amidst the darkness? Is there any silver lining or gratitude thing you'd like to cheers for us right now,
Mm.
in this year, in this moment, in this show,
Mm.
for the future?
Um, I I don't know if I would have survived without my dog, Andy. So
Cheers
cheers,
to Andy.
Andy.
Cheers to Andy.
How about you, Steve?
Yeah, just cheers to moving forward when I just didn't feel like it sometimes. So
Here, here. Well, cheers to making art and spending time with the two of you. I cannot wait to see your show.
thank you so much for this.
Heck yes. Thank you.
Did great.
Yay. Thank you so much for joining us for this musical episode. Now make sure you go and check out Ijoma's episodes covering the plays from the 2021 Stratford Festival season. But stay well until we meet at the theater digitally or in person again. Cheers.